it's a hard job,
a
isn't it?
telephone out though.
Well, oh no, I don't have it up.
That's the hardest job I have to do. Now I've given it away. So.
Mike's on.
Because it's so hard to tell them when to quit. Because they don't really
They don't
look
listen.
up. No, they don't look up. You know, and so
Even though they might subconsciously see it. I know when I have spoken, I
got
can
live
see it.
mics.
My live mics.
Okay.
Good evening. Before we get started, we just wanted to see if anyone in the audience needs translation services.
Buenas noches. Si hay alguien aquí que necesita intérprete, por favor, déjenos saber.
Thank you.
If anyone here needs translation and communication services, please let us know.
Dr. Gunnell? Dr. Gunnell, somebody raised their hand.
And then before we get started, if you are looking to make comments today, please make sure you get a comment card. If you are looking, again, to just make sure if you're a student that you check the red area so that we can make sure that you get to speak in the first public comment section. Thank you. I would like to thank everyone for attending this Grand Rapids Public School regular board meeting on May 15, 2023. We welcome and appreciate your presence at this meeting of the Grand Rapids Public School Board of Education. We respectfully request that you turn off cellular phones or mute them. Refrain from clapping, cheering, or making audible comments. We invite you to find the formal comment cards if you would like to speak with regards to agenda or non-agenda items, or both. Please fill out the comment card and submit it to the board table, and we will also have some staff. If you want to raise your hand, we'll try to make sure our staff is able to get that from you as well. Please limit your comments to approximately 3 minutes. Thank you. Ms. Lewis, if you could please call the roll.
yes, Ms. Shockey,
Here.
Ms. Wade,
Present.
Ms. Davis,
Here.
Mr. Eatman,
Here.
Ms. Lewis is here, Ms. Melton,
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Here.
Mr. Ross,
Here.
President Williams.
Present.
We have a quorum.
And we need to approve the agenda for this evening. We'll do all in favor of approving the agenda for this evening, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. We'll move on to celebrations.
Good evening, everyone. We are so excited. We have a Gates Millennium Scholar this evening. We are woo, yes, absolutely. Let's give. This young person is Jalen Calderon Monteros and her parents. We're going to invite them to come forward, and then also Miss Bridget Cheney, as well as Mrs. Kenyatta Hill, to come forward.
I will quick sit down and then get up so you can sit with her. So, yes.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Madam President, Superintendent Dr. Roby, and distinguished board members. Thank you so much for welcoming us here tonight, this evening, to celebrate Jalen Calderon Monteroso. We are so excited. I could not be more proud to sit at this table with a Gates Millennium Scholarship young lady. So I'm just here simply to introduce, to say that it certainly does take a lot of support. It certainly does take a lot of hard work, all of which you've done and had. So Mrs. Here she is. Mrs. Hill Hall is going to come up here now to talk a little bit about Jalen, and certainly thank you to the Grand Rapids University Preparatory Academy for everything they've done to support and make sure that this could come to fruition. So thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm so excited to be here. I'm the principal of Kenyatta Hill Hall, and I'm excited to talk about this dynamic scholar right here. She's a little embarrassed because she knows I embarrass my baby, so, but it's okay to be celebrated because of her hard work. So Jalen has been with us since 7th grade, and she is our National Honor Society president. She is our senior executive board president. She is our valedictorian. She has been on the Mayor Youth Council. She has started her own nonprofit. And one of the things that she did as the National Honor Society president, I think it's really important, especially for this time of the month for mental health awareness, was last year a group, she led with a group meeting with some mental health clinicians in the Grand Rapids area, and they talked about the importance of social emotional for high school and middle school students, and how it is talked about, but there's not a space. And even at UPrep, there wasn't a space for scholars to have that. And so after they talked about it, they planned some things, and they connected with Steelcase and got a $5,000 grant. And now we have a social emotional room that based off of her and the other students that not only do students use, but also the staff. So we are so thankful for her. She has taken all of our AP classes, 10 college classes, and she has been accepted to a multitude of colleges, but I think that she should be the one that shares that. And so it's just an honor for me to work with her, but also her family as well. So.
I'm so honored to be sitting here in front of you guys. Thank you, Ms. Hall, for everything you have done to support me and just your encouragement. The embarrassment is fun. It was really hard, a lot of essays to write. I got into UPenn, Duke, UMich, Notre Dame. I ultimately chose Notre Dame because it is close to home. I do want to see my parents. I value them a lot. They have been like the pillars that have helped me through all of this. Notre Dame has a Latino Studies Scholars Program that I really want to do, and I think it's really important to give back to my community and to my roots, being Guatemalan, that I can continue my work there, and I think that's what ultimately led me to Notre Dame.
One final thing, so we found out that she was the winner when we were on our close-up trip, and so usually they have a part for the adults, and then they have, and so she called me and she was crying, and I was doing my best not to cry as well. And so, but when we got on the plane, we had the attendants make an announcement. And so just the community, even the GRPS scholars from other schools, we're so excited, and the chaperones. So thank you to the Grand Rapids community, public schools community as well, because, you know, it does take a village, so thank you.
Will you also just share the significance of what the Gates Millennium Scholarship, because I know that everybody may not be as aware what you actually get.
Yes, so the Gates is a rigorous process for a scholarship awardee. There were, what was the number? I think it was like 59,000 scholars in the nation applied for this. And they chose, what was the number on the? 7,500. So it is a small number that gets selected, but what this allows Jalen and other scholars to be able to choose any school for free. They will pay for everything from books to tuition to housing, but also even allowing to do study abroad, not only your bachelor's, but your master's, anything educational wise. So it makes it unlimited.
And
it allows her
doctorate.
to have that access.
She also gets her doctorate as well, if she could.
Oh,
From-
absolutely, absolutely.
Paid for, so
And
congratulations.
because she has so many GRCC classes, we were always talking about, we're also going to take advantage of the Promise Zone and be able to do her associates as well during the summertime. So, I mean, Jalen, yes, as a principal, I'm very excited, but this is really Jalen's work. She has been a scholar that has reached out to these top tier schools and found income for, or found scholarships for them to even fly her and her family out to go visit. But this is her work that she's done. So I'm just so very proud and honored to be her principal.
Jalen, we are so very proud of you. Just knowing that all 4 years, plus a master's degree, plus a doctorate degree, how significant this scholarship is. I know that you will do our community proud, and you're going to do your parents proud. To Mr. and Mrs. Calderon Monterosa, just thank you for allowing us the opportunity to educate this beautiful scholar. And so we are excited for you. I would like to lead the audience in a round of standing ovation, because this is that significant. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have our public comment, including a union representative for our agenda items only. So I'll call to the podium Barb Slaggy, and then on deck is Oscar Neal.
The podium, Ms. Leggy. Yes.
Okay. I was informed that this is
Oh,
where,
one moment, I'm sorry. Ms. Lewis?
I'm not screaming.
If there's anyone present that is interested in giving public comment, we have 2 public comment sections on our agenda. The first one is public comment on board agenda items only, and the second opportunity is for commenting on non-agenda items. If there is a matter that you would like to speak on, you need to fill out the public comment card located on the tables at the entry point. Please submit your card to the ladies at the table over here. Individuals will be invited one at a time to the speaker's podium to address the board during the designated public comment agenda time. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. You will need to state your full name before providing your comment. We will then start the timer at the beginning of your public comment time and provide you with a 1-minute notice by flagging a red card indicating that 1 minute remains. You will need to complete your comment time upon being notified that 3 minutes have passed. Board members do not respond to public comment. Concerns will be brought to the attention of the appropriate staff. We value your input and thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Barb Slagle. I live in the Black Hills neighborhood. And this is where you guys are all gonna make the decision on our neighborhood. And I just wanna make sure that all of you have heard and listened to the people of the Black Hills community. And I understand that all of you have rejected all 3 proposals that were submitted to you by the appropriate dates, and I urge you to follow through with your words on what you've told us in the past weeks on what your plans are with this property. We, the people of the Black Hills, our opinions matter. You all don't live there. And I just want to make sure that you've heard our voices, you've heard our concern, and that all 3 of the proposals that have been rejected, that none other can be submitted at this time, that it's closed. You guys have said that in the past, that this is closed. They had until a specific date, And I urge you to all stand behind your word of what you said you were going to do with the neighborhood. We don't want any three of the options you guys have came up with. We don't need businesses, we don't need apartments, we already have apartments in our neighborhood. They're not the best apartments in the neighborhood. We don't want more. We can't have anchors on both ends of us. We have nowhere else to go. Our roads are not worthy of big machinery for any business that you guys all want to come up there. So I'm just here to make sure that you all stand behind your words, because we are people of honor, and that is what we should do. Thank you.
Thank you. Oscar Neal? On deck, we'll have Gemma Lowe.
Oscar Neal, CFE parent, City High School parent, also department head and professor of mathematics at Grams Community College, adjunct AMP Lab, Industrial Engineering Department, Western Michigan University. So 6 months since the first incident in GRPS school this year, and we get a no backpack rule. A short-sighted solution that lacks planning and thought of its implications.
Okay. I'm sorry. This is, you checked that this is an agenda item? It is not an agenda item.
I crossed it off, pushed no.
Okay, so then you'll be in the next comment. If it's backpacks as well, you had, that is a non-agenda item. Okay, I'm sorry, we're going by what you put on your slate, so we'll put you in the next comment. So let's just see here. Wonderful. D. Jones, if you will come to the microphone, and then on deck will be Elizabeth Van Klappenberg.
How you doing, everybody? I'm D. Jones, and I wanted to talk to you guys about the safe gun thing. A decade ago, I'm getting old. I don't feel old, though. I was the kid who brought the gun to East Kenwood High School, and I just remember just having access to a gun that was my cousin's gun, and he had it in my parents' truck. And I just knew where it was, and I was trying to impress a group of kids that I would say I was extremely smarter than. And I just know how it is. Instead of just being D. Jones and just being the leader and just being the cool dude that I am, I would just try to impress people that I was smarter than. And so for those parents that usually, in our underserved communities, that usually have families or people that bring guns or have access to guns, make sure y'all tell them don't bring those guns to school, because you can have a whole school district and people scared. I remember going to the State House. I went in there and I tried to speak and advocate about my story, because I changed my whole life around. I remember walking through the juvenile detention. I spent a lot of time in the juvenile detention. I spent a lot of time in residential homes, and so I know what's out there for those kids and that next generation of kids that does bring that gun to school, or other things that could happen. And so I just wanted to advocate and come let you guys know that it's somebody that's in our community here, locally, that's experienced that and brought a gun to school and changed his life around and won a state championship from my school and did a lot of positive things and still doing a lot of positive things. And that's part of the reason why I ended up winning a grant to reduce violence and creating a program for nonviolence, which I tried to engage with you guys in. It's not just because of my own experience, but just, just to having the conversations with the kids in the juvenile detentions, with the kids in the residential placements, being out there in the hood, being out there in the streets, and just understanding those things. And so when I come to you, I'm not coming to you guys as somebody that just trying to throw a program at you guys, but somebody that's actually lived this experience, somebody that's actually had to break those barriers and have to have people have articles about you. You can look up articles. You can look DeAndre Jones up, East Kenwood gun, and you can literally see articles about me. But you can also see positive things that I've done, and you guys know about some of the positive things that I've done. And so I just want to let you guys know I'm here to be an advocate. I'm here to support you. I've changed my life around. I even won an international business award for my esports competition that I let you guys know about. So I have to fly to Las Vegas to get an award for something positive that I did for my community. So it's great leaders here. It's ethical leaders, it's black leaders, it's people that actually experience this. So please, please connect with me. I'm here. This is my story. I even got a book. I even got to tell that story to the kids in the juvenile detention. I used to walk those juvenile detentions, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Echo, Delta. I lived that, and so I can't pretend this is my story, and I've changed my life around, and I've inspired a lot of people, and I can continuously inspire a lot of people, and I can help you. I can't say that I'll be able to help you reduce these kids and parents not taking proper precautions to make sure that things are safe and guns are put up, but I'm here. Thank you.
Elizabeth Van Klompenberg, and then we have Jesse Edmund Hill on deck.
Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Van Klompenberg, and my son is a third grader at North Park Elementary. So it did hit home the past few weeks with events in other third grade classrooms. So I see that the agenda tonight contains a resolution for safe firearm storage, and I urge you all to pass that resolution and then commit to providing that information to our community. This is on the adults of our community, and having a robust education program for the adults in our community, it's really important to make sure that our parents, guardians, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins all know how to keep our kids safe and how to keep a firearm out of reach. I just want to encourage you again that the Be Smart program is an evidence-based program, highly respected and used across the state. And one of our local Be Smart leaders has sent a letter to area superintendents who are also concerned about guns in schools and youth gun violence. And this letter had over 300 names from the community. And just some other information about Be Smart. I have spoken about this program before, but it consists of a 20 to 25 minute presentation. It's simple, easy to understand, it's non-judgmental, and it's apolitical. It offers solutions to parents for how to keep these weapons locked up and out of reach from our children. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have Melody Allen on deck.
Can you hear me? My name is Jessie Emden Hill. I have a first grader and a 4-year-old waiting in the wings at C.A. Frost Elementary. And I wanted to speak today to encourage you to pass a safe storage resolution. As you probably know, the state of Michigan recently passed legislation that's going to require firearms to be secured around children, but I believe that a safe storage resolution by GRPS will give our parents and our caregivers the motivation beyond legal consequences and the tools to be able to comply. Earlier this year, the Frost PTA had a guest speaker to discuss and distribute the information regarding the safe storage of firearms. I found it to be very non-judgmental and extremely informative. It covered statistics about firearms being the #1 cause of death of children, and also how these deaths are how these deaths are linked to firearms found in the home, their own home. And it covered the role of firearms in death by suicide, and how unfortunately when a firearm is used, the attempt is almost always fatal. These statistics are, of course, disturbing and they're problematic, and I know you all agree with that. But this program and this material also provides information on how to prevent this, such as information on actually how to secure your firearms. I know, like personally, I didn't realize that there are so many options, and there is really something to fit a need of any situation that people may be in where they have a firearm. And if a family does not own a gun lock, there is also provided information on how to get one for free. Since the time I was presented with this information with safe storage data, I have been able to better speak on the topic and have had multiple conversations with others about how they can do gun safely. A safe storage resolution a safe storage not only provides critical information to families that need it, but it also gives us as a community the better tools to be a better advocate for our safety in our community. This country is in a crisis with gun violence, and I know I don't expect GRPS to solve that all, but we all have to do what we can, and I believe that safe storage is a step in the right direction. I'm asking you to pass one. Thank you.
Melody Allen. On deck will be Clee Jackson.
Hello, my name is Melody Allen. I was going to kind of follow up what the lady said in the front row about Kensington School and the Black Hills. The Black Hills had sacrificed a lot. I don't know if you were where she's talking about the apartment complex was a Little League baseball game field. They had to give it up and went down in Godfrey. It is landlocked up there. Hopefully you guys will come through with what you said and not do any of the resolutions that you said you will not do. Maybe we can try to get a committee together with residents of the Black Hills and try to find out what's best for our neighborhood, our young kids that live up there. It is starting to turn around. It's very family orientated, but it is a small little community that cannot handle businesses, a homeless shelter, because there's nothing up there for the homeless. It's not walkable, it's not a grocery store. We do have the church that tries to help with community things. We just want what's best for the Black Hills. If you live up there, why don't you let us try to help make the decision what is best for the residents up there. The school, we understand it needs work. You guys are not that. The parks did a lot by redoing the parks. We have the soccer fields. We just want to try to make it back what it was, a nice family neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. On deck, we have Marta Johnson.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me? All right, so I'm Clee Jackson. I'm the president of the Greater Grand Rapids NAACP. So I wanted to come tonight to talk about this resolution to let you guys know that we're in full support of it. And so I want to just also just give you a couple of points from our perspective as an NAACP and NAACP. So one of the things that we have fought long and hard for, based on the number of killings, mass murders across this country, school shootings, is to enact stricter gun laws. Also, it's not just about gun storage, it's bigger. So it's about supporting community-based violence prevention programs. It's also about addressing the root causes. It's also about making sure that people have access to mental and behavioral health care services, our young folks. It's also about making sure that the school districts do threat assessments. So I want to applaud this step. I think it's a step in the right direction for sure, because we have to protect our young people. Also want to say, and really take my hats off to Governor Whitmer and the Senate Committee on Civil Rights, Judiciary, and Public Safety, especially Senator Bayer, Senator Rivet, Senator Irvin, Senator Chang, for passing in April a variety of bills, which one happened to be this safe gun storage law. And so what that does specifically is it imposes some really strict penalties, jail time, fines for adults who are irresponsible gun owners. I'll say that again, irresponsible gun owners. I think somebody mentioned earlier that it's not just a district, it's not just a school issue, it's a community issue, because these are our babies, these are our kids. So it's a community issue, and we have to also take some responsibility as well. No indictment, just an observation. So I really want to thank the legislature. If any of you want to see these bills, if you want copies of these bills, Senate Bill 79 through I think 82, contact our office. We can share those with you. We can give you some analysis on those things. And if you would like, we'll be talking about this tomorrow at our membership meeting. It's a virtual membership meeting, 7:15, if any of you want to attend that as well to kind of take a deeper dive into these. So again, I want to applaud you for taking this step.
Hi, my name is Marta Johnson. I am the parent of 2 students at Grand Rapids Public Schools, one of which went through a Code Yellow experience back in the fall. We didn't hear for a while, but I've since learned that there have been communication changes, of which we saw evidence of this week, and I really appreciate getting the voicemail from Dr. Roby ahead of dinner time so that I could prepare my students for the backpack ban, even though I don't see that as a long-term solution. I really appreciated that tight communication and opportunity to be able to prepare my children a little bit for kind of destroying their innocence with guns in our schools. I also am specifically here in support for the safe gun storage resolution, particularly because it echoes some of the advancements we've seen and the need for these advancements in Lansing for common sense gun reform. What's disappointing is that while we made progress with safe gun storage regulations in Lansing and red flag laws to keep people that are have credible threats against other people not to have access to guns, as well as universal background checks, those unfortunately didn't receive the support of State Senator Mark Huizenga, who is the state senator for the school that had the most recent incident with a gun. It was Stocking Elementary. And so he failed our children in that way, I believe. I am disappointed because if he and other legislators had stepped up and supported these wildly popular gun reform laws, they would have gone into immediate effect, and it could have made a difference in this situation. I know we don't like to make things political, but the fact that these same senators could support having more regulations on distracted driving, which I also agree are dangerous for our children, and they couldn't summon the courage to do this to keep guns out of the hands of kids that might not know better or might just be facing a lot of trauma, or for whatever reason they are feeling the need to do this very dangerous thing of taking a gun into a school. So we have a clear need for more leadership here, and I appreciate that. I believe that this resolution not only commits to helping amplify safe gun storage practices, but I think calls on other decision-making bodies to also join you and be partners in that. And I specifically call Senator Mark Huizenga to step up and pass an amendment to make these gun smart storage laws into immediate effect. We should not be having our children face these dangerous things in our school. I should not have to explain to my kid that it is actually different than a Nerf gun, these guns that are showing up in schools, and that's why you can't take a backpack in. And I know that that isn't the responsibility of this body right here, but I am furious that there's been such failure for decades to deal with this. And the fact that we had an opportunity, there was a majority, you would not have been sticking out your neck, you would have been standing up for our kids. And I am appalled that he couldn't take up the courage to do that. I'm sorry, I get really emotional when it comes to the safety of my children.
That's 3
please,
minutes.
Thank you. And I have been advocating on air quality, and I just wanted to bring to the attention that the CDC.
Thank you.
Sorry, the microphone's off. I just want, was that 3 minutes?
Yes.
3 minutes.
Next, we have reports, Secretary's report.
Yes, committee meetings. The Academic Achievement Committee will meet tomorrow at 4:30 in the Administration Building in the auditorium. The Ad Hoc Facilities Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, the 17th, at 4 in the Library Building, room 112. The Policy Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, May 17th at 5:45 in the Administration Building, room 101. And the Finance Committee meeting will be Tuesday, May 30th at 4:30 in the Administration Building in the Board Chambers.
And we don't have any committee chair updates. Superintendent's report.
All right, good evening, everyone. We've received lots of feedback since instituting the backpack restriction last week, and I wanted to take just a moment to address this issue and the decision. Last week, Wednesday, our district experienced another incident where a student brought a gun to school. It was an 8-year-old third grader at Stocking Elementary. This was the 4th time this school year that we've confiscated a gun from a student, and this time the gun was loaded with a bullet in the chamber. It pains me and frightens me to think about what could have happened if somebody had pulled that trigger. I am relieved that I don't know that answer. This is the 4th time that we encountered and confiscated guns in our building. That's more gun confiscations in a single year than we've ever experienced. This can't continue. The reason for the temporary restriction on our scholars carrying bags into our schools, 3 of the 4 incidents came through backpacks. It is our hope that this measure will make it more difficult to conceal weapons and to bring onto school property. I also hope that this encourages our parents and grandparents and caregivers to look into their children's bags and take serious the precautions in their homes related to guns to make sure that they're not accessible to children. And this is not an indictment. This is about safety. We don't want anyone to experience some of the things that we've heard about in other communities where a child has been harmed or others have been harmed and killed. This is all about safety. We know that banning the bags was difficult on our scholars. We hear your frustration, and we also hear your anger about this decision. Please know we share some of those same feelings, and we're committed to finding long-term solutions that we can all live with. We're also committed to engaging our families and our community in meaningful solutions that not only keeps guns out of our schools, but out of the hands of our children. Period, point blank. Children should not have access to guns. Our team has fielded hundreds of comments and questions about the backpack decision. Many of them are from parents reaching out to express their frustrations. Some of those are people who are grateful that we're doing something about the situation. In any case, we're grateful for your voice and your feedback. While we are not happy to make this decision, we are so grateful that no one was hurt. We are grateful to our scholars that they've heard this message and have also told an adult when something wasn't right. And so I need to reiterate that every single time we have put this on our children to be the gatekeeper about keeping the rest of us safe. And so I applaud those children who saw something and they said something. It's with those scholars in mind that we had to make this decision. Their safety, the safety of your children, is our top priority. We are an institution of learning, but we have to be safe first and foremost, because learning can't go on if people are afraid. Thank you. I do have a facilities master plan update, which is a little brighter. We are in the phase 2 as we are entering the 3rd quarter of the year to discuss what our plans are as we do. We'll have a draft series of the bond budget that Rhonda and, Ms. Cribbs and PMC, which is Plant Moran Cressa, will be doing soon. And we'll also be talking about the transition plans, possible attendance boundaries, space assessments, student transitions, a transportation analysis, routing implication for hubs. So as we've talked about this facility master plan, there are lots of moving parts with it, and some of it is more of the kind of the facilities and the buildings, but it also has implications on other things that we do. And so our academic team is going to be sharing their SWOT findings. SWOT is success, and I'm forgetting now. Yeah, strengths, opportunities, threats, and W is weaknesses. Thank you. Early learnings from their engagement with Dr. Lovelady Mitchell, and thank you, Dr. Lovelady Mitchell, from shouting out in the audience. On the 17th which is this week, we will discuss the outcome of our Kensington discussion this evening, timelines, and any additional communications, and then possible repurposing of that space. And then on the 22nd will be the bond budget draft. The last part of my the last two things on my superintendent report is a foundation update, and if I can have Ms. Cheney and Ms. Andrews come forward.
Good evening once again, distinguished board members, Madam President, and Superintendent Dr. Roby. Mindshare was a success. Thank you to all of you who were able to attend. So a quick update is we did best the $200,000 mark, which is extremely exciting for our scholars and things that the Grand Rapids Public Schools Foundation supports throughout the year. And we do have some upcoming budgetary meetings to talk about what this next year will look like as far as their support of our scholars and what that means as far as the bond is concerned, and what can they support, what do we know that our budget and ESSER dollars can support, and making sure that we are so fiscally responsible, yet ensuring that each and every one of our scholars has every possible opportunity and resource that they can. And that's our biggest update for today, so thank you.
Thank you. We will also have a human resource recruitment update. Ms. Anya Lusk is our Assistant Superintendent and General Counsel for our HR, and so she's going to provide an update related to some of the recruitment efforts and what's taking place.
Everybody. Need some help with the tech here, sorry.
While she's getting ready, can I just tell people a few more things? Sure. Okay. Just a reminder, we are excited that graduation ceremony season is upon us. Next week, Monday through Thursday, there will be our graduation ceremonies. The times and schools are available on our district website. Our graduation ceremonies are either 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. There is a small change for one particular school where our GRCC, our Grand Rapids Learning Center, is actually taking place at a separate location, but all other graduations will be at the Hausman site. And a rain location is City High School. So we are hoping that we do not have, we're hoping that we have great weather next week, but if in case that we do not, we'll make sure that we move to City High School so that we don't get off track. So Monday through Thursday is when our graduation ceremonies are taking place. All right, Ms. Lusk.
Is anybody good with computers? Something that someone could help me with?
What you trying to do?
I'm trying to get the presentation up there. It looks like it's kind of up there, but it's awfully little.
The box.
I don't know how to.
The
Yeah,
square box. If you click in that, it should pull it out. Yes.
Right there. There we go. Okay.
Oh, never mind.
And then you can go to play.
Because I have a different screen on my computer now, so thank you.
You want to go to
Slideshow?
From beginning. Keep going, keep going. From beginning, straight.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for your help. Appreciate it. All right, so thank you for the introduction, Dr. Roby. Again, I'm Anya Lusk. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of HR and General Counsel. And this is my recruitment update for the board. So my initial plan was to have my recruitment and talent manager here with me, who's really responsible for all this work. unfortunately, she had a very last-minute family emergency, so I hope the board will bear with me as I get through this presentation on my own. To the extent that there are any questions I can't answer, I'll definitely take it back to my team and come back with additions.
Can you talk into the microphone?
Yeah, I was gonna ask,
Oh.
could you speak into the mic, please?
Is this better?
Can you
Okay.
all hear? A little closer, like this close.
How's this?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, thank you. All right. So first I'm going to discuss the current state of affairs at Grand Rapids Public Schools. As things stand right now, we have about 450 vacancies. We have about 135 teacher vacancies, although I will say that we have about 70 offers out there for teachers. So hopefully, with any luck, we'll be able to cut that amount in half shortly. And it will depend on how many accept and how many more potentially we have resigned before the end of the school year. As the board might know, there tends to be a lot of resignations and a lot of transfers and a lot of people coming in at the end of the school year, so these numbers are very much in flux during this time of year. But for support staff, and I'm using the word support staff to explain literally every other position at the district, we have about 350 vacancies and we have about 50 offers out there right now. So of these, we have a few, although certainly not all, of our hardest to fill positions on the screen right now. For teachers, that typically is special education, math, and science. And then outside the teacher realm, we have school social workers and a lot of mental health professionals like counselors and psychologists that are very hard to fill. We also have childcare workers, which are similar but a little bit different than our parapros, for anybody that's familiar with parapros. And then custodial staff is also very difficult for us to find. And these vacancies are not just true for GRPS, but they're really true across the board. All schools are having the same issues, or similar issues anyway, retaining these specific types of teachers and support staff. All right, so first I'm going to talk about some spring recruitment. So we have our big spring job hiring fair, May 17th, so this Wednesday, and it's between 3:30 and 6:30. And of course, the board is welcome to appear and attend if they'd like. We usually have 3 job fairs throughout the year, one in the spring, one over the summer in anticipation of the new school year, and then another one in the fall to try to get in some last minute hires for the entire school year. And I know that the recruitment team, along with the communications department, has been working very hard in order to digitally advertise for the event. We're on social media, there's flyers, there's community outreach, there's signs posted, not only on school district property, but around the state as well. So on top of the spring recruitment fair, we also have a GRPS student teacher interview days. So at any given time, we have about 100 student teachers at the district, and we get them from a number of different colleges, GVSU, MSU, Saginaw, and Calvin College, Aquinas. Those are the closer ones. And about a third of all GRPS students end up applying for a position with the district, which is great, because that means that while they were a student teacher, they enjoyed working for GRPS. So we have about 30 applicants right now. Some have declined to go back home or to go closer to where they go to college, but we have been able to hire a few as well. And we have 2 dedicated student teacher interview days, which is great because it lets our student teachers know, hey, thank you so much for coming here. You know, I know it's part of your curriculum to get your teaching cert, but it's also great that you're willing to come here out of all the schools that you could go to. And so having this day, 2 days reserved specifically for them is a great way to show some of that appreciation, to let us know that, or to let them know that we're serious about hiring them. We also, the talent team attends a number of virtual and in-person recruitment fairs throughout the year. There's 22 recruitment events specifically between February and May, which is great. And they're both in-state recruitment events, and my team goes across the nation too to recruit at other colleges as well. And it's a district-wide effort. I know that Adriana Almanza, who's our talent manager, she usually attends these events with a handful of other people at the district. And what's really cool is that especially when we go to these recruitment fairs outside of the state, the applicants are always really impressed that we have a social emotional learning department, that we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion department, that we have a separate PDIP department. And the reason we're able to do all that is because we're such a big district. And they're usually pretty impressed by that. So we usually get at least 1 or 2 applicants from each of these events that we attend. So more specifically, we are focusing on HSIs and HBCUs, HSIs being Hispanic serving institutions and HBCUs being historically black colleges and universities, in order to expand the diversity of the applicants that we hire. We've been to Illinois, Texas, FAMU, Howard, Central State University, and if any of the board was here for my presentation last year, we talked about the fact that we are interested in also looking at international teachers. And the reason for all of this, for members of the board who don't know, is because there has been a 70% decline in those attending teaching institutions, those getting their teacher's certs in the past decade. So we are looking everywhere we possibly can, outside the state, within the state, across the seas, to try to retain, or to try to acquire as many teachers as we possibly can. And so we just recently started working with a company called International Alliance Group, and we have 4 offers out there this far. Interviews are ongoing. We have 7 interviews scheduled for this week alone for international teachers, which is a very cool thing. And we are hyper-focusing on special education, math, and science, which are the 3 main areas of teaching that we have the most trouble staffing. In addition, we have a great partnership, as the board knows, with the GRPS Foundation, and they've set aside a very generous $20,000 for relocating expenses, which could be either from the other side of the state, a couple cities away, or to the extent that it's necessary or would be valued for international teachers, or teachers that come from different areas of the nation as well. In addition, we have an agreement with the GREA, which is our educational teacher union, and we have $1,000 sign-on bonuses for all brand new teachers as well. So now I'd like to get into a little bit more detail about what we do as far as pipeline or pathway programs. So we've also partnered with several colleges to bring additional supports to not only our teaching staff, but to other staff and students who may at some point in their life want to obtain a teaching certification or go into teaching. And the first one is the GRPS GVSU ESL cohort, and ESL is English as a second language. And this is grant funded, so that means there's no out-of-pocket cost whatsoever for teachers. And essentially, once a semester, they join with a number of other teachers who may be interested, which is why it's called a cohort. And it's fully funded. They attend GVSU classes to obtain their ESL endorsement. And this has been something that's been increasing in popularity over time. This time last year, we had 10 people join the cohort. This year, we have 23, and we hope that it keeps expanding over time. We also are in partnership with GRCC and MSU for a teacher residency program, and this one is really cool and kind of close to my heart in particular, where we're taking students who are juniors and seniors in high school and attending school at GRPS, and this is specifically targeting students of color in particular. And so they take dual enrollment classes. While they're enrolled at GRPS, they also enroll at MSU to knock out some prerequisites. Once they graduate, they finish out their prerequisites at GRCC, and ultimately the idea is that they will attend the MSU teaching program, obtain their teaching certification, come back to MSU, or not MSU, but come back to GRPS to do their student teaching with a stipend. And that's a way to get, the grow your own homegrown students who are already here and who might want to come back and teach at GRPS. Now, we're still working out the details of this. This is something that neither GRPS nor GRCC nor MSU have ever done before. So we're still working on funding sources and kind of nailing down the contract and what exactly that'll look like. In addition, we have a Teach Club Grand Rapids. This was launched in 2022, so it's relatively new. There's 6 participating GRPS schools, and what these schools do is they have students that currently may be interested in the teaching profession, and they get together either as groups within the school or collectively between the schools, and they attend workshops, they have speakers come in. There's a number of things that we do, and it's all done through a social justice lens. So it's not only just them teaching, but it's also them teaching, recognizing the social issues that are at play in our society, and trying to incorporate that into their teaching curriculum. We also have a partnership with Davenport University, and there's 3 different partnerships that we have with them. The first one is a certificate in urban education, and this is for non-instructional staff. And essentially, once you obtain the certification with Davenport, you have a teaching certification, and then you can teach. And this is particularly what we found, something that's desirable for CCWs or custodial staff or paras who may not have gone through the higher education process but are interested in teaching, they can do this as an alternative. We also have a master's in urban education. This is for individuals who already have their bachelor's degrees that want a master's specifically in urban education to bring that back to GRPS in that manner. Then the last one is the Bachelor of Applied Science in Integrative Professional Studies program, which is a bit of a mouthful. But this is also for non-instructional staff, and it is for staff members who already have a bachelor's that want to maybe obtain their master's degree. And while they're obtaining their master's degree, they also obtain their teaching certification so that when they come back, and for any of the board members who are aware, we have different salary schedules based on how much education you have, and so a master's degree will get you bumped up as a starting pay in a great way, and this is something we offer through Davenport. We have some also very recently added programs which we have not quite implemented yet, but the agreements are signed, we're ready to go. But this all occurred in the past couple of weeks. The first is Montana State University. And so as I was saying earlier, part of the issue is that we're having trouble retaining teachers, just like every school district is pretty much in the country right now. So it's time we start looking that we start getting student teachers from out of state. Historically, we've really just done it in state. But Montana State University, we now have an agreement with them to have student teachers come from Montana to teach here, and hopefully they like the city and then they like the GRPS and they want to stay. Second one, and one that's particularly interesting, is Grand Canyon University. This is actually a private university out of Arizona, and what they do is offer staff, scholars, and parents of scholars tuition discounts, and all the classes are virtual. So anybody, it's about 10% discount for staff and parents of scholars, and then it's actually 15% discount for certain professions like CCWs, parapros, et cetera. And also any of our students who end up getting their teaching cert through Grand Canyon University actually get a stipend of about $3,500 to $4,000, which is, you know, a nice incentive for students who may be interested in attending classes virtually. So we have one pipeline program in discussion right now. This is Calvin College, and very similar to what I talked about in the last slide, is an accelerated one-year MA plus teaching certification. So they'll get their master's degree if they already have a bachelor's degree plus a teaching cert. And like it says up there, it's for employees that already have bachelor's degrees. All right, so advertising and marketing. So the board may not know this, but a couple years ago, or at least when I started, HR had an advertising budget of about $4,000 marketing budget for the entire year, and that was supposed to cover everything we need to do, and it was understandable at the time with funding and funding sources and how that all works. Thankfully with ESSER, we've been able to significantly increase that budget, which has been a blessing. So we've been able to pay for posts on websites like Indeed and LinkedIn, where previously that was a little bit out of our reach, and we've had pretty good success with it. We're also advertising all of our social media, again in partnership with the communications team. We are using geo-targeting digital advertisements, which I've talked before, and no matter how many times someone explains to me exactly what geo-marketing or geo-targeted advertising is, I still don't completely understand it, but apparently it's supposed to be particularly effective, and we're actually working with an outside company who specializes in that to assist us. We also do occasional robocalls, radio stations, and news stations, particularly for job fairs. So we might do a couple robocalls for any job fairs we have coming up, and then work with radio stations and news stations to advertise for job fairs as well. We're also going through the process of updating our flyers and literature for recruitment events, because there's something really unique about working at a public school. In particular, we have benefits that really don't exist at all in the private sector. We have great health insurance compared to the private sector. We have pension benefits, retirement benefits. We have, for anybody that is student loans, we have public student loan forgiveness programs that are out there. So there's a lot of really interesting and unique benefits that don't exist in the private sector that we're really focusing on as a recruitment tool. We're also in the process of translating our onboarding documents into Spanish and Vietnamese, which are the two highest spoken languages outside of English for staff, so that we can recruit individuals who don't necessarily speak English but can still nevertheless perform the job just fine. But part of that is making sure that when we onboard them, then we explain to them, you know, here's how you fill out your W-2 or your W-4, what have you, that, or when they get copies of employee manuals, that they actually have the documents they need in the language that they can understand, so they're not kept out of the loop in that cycle. And we're also in the process of going through an application overhaul. We've been told, and this is a good example of receiving feedback and then responding to it, we've been told that our application process for some positions is far too long. So I actually took it upon myself to apply for a CCW position, and it took me over an hour with me making up the information. I was just typing in nonsense just to get through the process. And what I found that the same questions are asked multiple times. There's a whole bunch of questions that really aren't necessary. There are writing prompts for some positions that really don't require it. And I know that a lot of what I've been told, what the research shows, is that if the application is too long, people tend to check out and they go elsewhere. So shortening and tightening our application process to ensure that we don't lose people during that process is a crucial thing. So we're in the process of overhauling our application. All right, so plan for fall of 2023. So make recruitment efforts a priority in the fall. Historically, we have usually waited until the winter or even the spring to really start going at recruitment, and the atmosphere, it's all shifted. We have to start much earlier in the year, and we've recognized that, and so that's what we're doing. We're focusing on grow your own opportunities. In particular, we've learned that staff isn't always aware of all these grow your own programs and all of these other cohort events that we have. So what we're in the process of doing, again, in collaboration with a fantastic communications team, is creating a landing page so that there's one page. Here are all of the benefits. Here's everything we offer, current employees, future employees, prospective employees, what have you. And that's a really great way to make sure that everybody's aware of everything that we offer as an employee of GRPS. We're also, and this goes back to the application overhaul, we're revisiting and reviewing our internal practices that are creating or maintaining barriers. We have a lot of steps in the hiring process. And so we're in the process of really looking at them and making sure that we cut out what's really not necessary, because some of the feedback we've been hearing is that it just, from the moment they apply to the moment they're hired, the process is too long and we're losing people along the way. So we're doing what we can to make sure that that's as short a process as possible. We've also had some local community organizations, I believe like the Urban League, who are interested in hosting events at their location for us to come out to do interviews on site there. And so that's something we're absolutely interested in the process of working through. And also our student teacher program, just to give you a little bit more background on that, it includes a state stipend. So there's a $10,000 state stipend for all student teachers. We had created a stipend ourselves. I think it was 2 months before the governor came out with hers. So we nixed ours, but making sure that students are aware that they receive the stipend. We also offer all student teachers, which is a little bit unique in GRPS, professional development, mentorship, and specialized, as I talked about earlier, specialized interview days to show our student teachers that we're keen about them, we're excited to have them, and we want them to stay. And that is my presentation. Any questions?
Any questions, colleagues?
Is it on? Can you hear me?
Maybe a little bit louder.
Hello? Can y'all hear me? Dang, I gotta get really close. You're right, I'm sorry. I thought you were exaggerating. But thank you for your presentation. While I understand, other districts also are facing, these huge vacancies, right? Like we need to show folks that we're the best. We need to show folks that we're here and we're ready to do the work. And I know, personally, I've been in the district right prior to this, and I know that the HR hiring process is a huge barrier for folks, waiting to hear back from HR, and then eventually they go and get another job somewhere else, and then we lose them. So is there work being done to streamline the process of hiring? Who ultimately makes these decisions that take so long to?
Yeah, so part of the issue is that it's just it's not just teachers we're understaffed with, we're also a bit understaffed in HR as well, and I think that my colleagues in their various departments could say the same thing about their departments as well. Part of the issue is that it's a very involved process. So what we've done recently, to be specific, is we've created a hiring timeline. And that was just recently finalized a couple days ago. I'm going to be presenting it to Dr. Roby shortly. And what it does is literally from the moment, and it's called an ERFP, that's like the first step. Someone submits, hey, I have a request for a personnel. I need a person to hire. From the moment the ERFP is submitted to the moment we hire, what is every single step in that process? How long did it take? What efforts were involved? What holdups occurred? And my hope is that by sitting down and actually looking at this process, because there's about 20 or 25 steps to the process, And my hope is that by looking at the process, we can see, okay, that's not necessary, that's not necessary, that's not necessary, and then we can cut down on that timeline so we prevent exactly what you're talking about, which is losing people while the process goes underway.
And is that something that, you know, I guess what is the, I know you just said you started working on the hiring timeline, and you still have to present it to Dr. Roby. Is that something that we're, you know, looking to implement even within the next 2023-24 school year, where we start, okay, so over the summer it's gonna happen?
Yeah, my hope is that when I'm presented to Dr. Roby, and I'll present it to cabinet as well, that we will have that discussion. What can we cut out right now? And my hope is that we have a brand new, beautifully shortened interview process by the beginning of the school year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you do any type of hiring, like feedback form after a staff member has been hired, something to just like, so they can get feedback on their hiring process, on their experience being hired into the district?
We don't, but that's a fantastic idea.
On that same note, do you do exit, do you have exit data? So I also left the district, but you know, do you receive feedback from folks that are like, you know, GRPS wasn't for me for one reason or another, to get that data to really, you know, improve our systems within GRPS?
We do. So we do exit interviews with a number of people who are leaving the district for one reason or the other. Of course, not all of them agree to do the exit interview, but for those who do, we do sit down. What we do need to do better about, I'm happy that you've mentioned that, because it's something that we've been discussing over the past few months, is actually compiling that information and using it as a potential metric. And that'll be the next step, because we have loads of exit interviews and the reasons people leave and the reasons that they wanted to stay and what we could have done differently to get them to stay, and actually putting that together in a cohesive form that we can do something with is absolutely something we plan on doing over the summer as well.
Mr. Eman?
So thank you for the presentation. Dr. Roby, this was a little bit different from the one that we have. Can we have the updated slides in the packet itself?
Yes, I will send those to Julie and then she can distribute them.
Perfect, thank you. The other question is, I see that, and I think this is slide 3, where you mentioned the 3 recruitment events, spring, summer, and fall, and the first one happening May 17th. And so for your spring, summer, and fall recruitment or hiring events, where are those held?
Those are usually held at GRPSU. There's that big cafeteria open space where we set up a number of tables so that people who may not have heard of the event but pass by and see a flyer can come in and speak with our different departments that we have to see what they might be interested in.
Are there plans or any interest of going directly to the community, the trusted community centers that people in their neighborhoods go to host these career fairs?
There absolutely is. Oh, I'm sorry. There absolutely is. I think I mentioned that the Urban League is one group that we've been in discussion with about going out to the event. We've also considered going to the Hispanic Center and some other various community organizations, so that people don't have to come to us. We'll go to them, and that's on our to-do list. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
That concludes, thank you, Ms.
Thank
Lawson.
you.
That concludes my reports for this evening.
Colleagues, there looks like there was a slight oversight. I think we all know we're supposed to be voting on the matter with regards to Kensington tonight. However, it's not listed under our action item, so we will be, again, still addressing that. So our first action item is the second presentation and adoption of Kent Intermediate District's school district biannual election of the Kent Intermediate School District and appointment representative to cast a vote.
Okay. We have 3 candidates for the Kent ISD board. Wendy Falb, who most of us know from the board. Andre Heidel, who many of us know from having gone to Washington, D.C., and she is very knowledgeable, and I've worked with her on the IASB. And also Ann Hemming, those were you at the dinner the other night. She was our hostess, and she's from Thornton McCullough. And all 3 of them are wonderful people, and I will let somebody take a, I mean, first of all, I would like to put myself out as the person who will go there to vote.
Correct.
And then we'll need an alternative if there's someone who wants to be my alternative.
And so, just for a full understanding, we need to put forth a name?
Yes, two names.
Two names.
Yeah, we have to have a motion, selecting two of them, and then I will vote for them when I go to the meeting on June 1st.
Alrighty. Any discussion, colleagues?
I make a
just wanna
motion
know-
for Ms. Favre and Ms. Haiti.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said I make a motion for Ms. Favre and Ms. Haiti.
Second that motion?
Alrighty. Any further discussion?
Do we have to do them together? Or do you want separately?
I think we should be okay together.
Yeah, we've done it
Ms.
together in
Lusk?
the past.
Together or separate?
Together.
Is it a
does
roll
say
call,
separate.
or is it?
Oh, no.
It is a roll
It
call.
is
It
a roll
is a
call.
roll call, but we have done it
Together.
before, together.
It does.
So we will do the together. So I think
I
we
have a
have
second.
a first and a second.
And now I need to go.
We need to call the roll.
So the motion is that we will support Ms. Faub and Ms. Heidel for the Kent Intermediate School Board. Ms. Shockey,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Ms. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Reitman,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Ms. Melton,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ross,
Yes.
President Williams,
Yes.
motion carries.
And next for our action item is the Grand Rapids Child Discovery Center reauthorization. Is there any discussion? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the reauthorization for Grand Rapids Child Discovery Center?
Motion to approve reauthorization for Grand Rapids Child Discovery Center.
Second.
Who supported, I'm sorry?
Ms. Wade?
Okay, Ms. Shockey,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Ms. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Reitman,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Ms. Melton,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ross,
Yes.
President Williams,
Yes.
motion carries.
And then we have action item for the Grand Rapids Child Discovery Center resolution approving Board of Directors. Any discussion? Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Support.
Is that Raynard?
Mhm.
Okay, Ms. Shockey,
Yes.
Ms. Wade,
Yes.
Ms. Davis,
Yes.
Mr. Reitman,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Ms. Melton,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Ross,
Yes.
President Williams,
Yes.
motion carries.
And then lastly, we have the vote with regards to the demolition of Kensington School and restoring the green space. Is there any discussion?
Yes. So thinking back at our last meeting that we had, there was some questions that came up in regards to actually getting enough of the resident voice along in this process. And so I recall that 1,500 mailers went out the second time, but what I asked at that meeting, because that was the first time that we received some of that, or that the residents received that information that day, was did the feedback that we received from the 1,500 new entries support what the smaller groups stated that they wanted for that space?
Okay. Any other discussion? All right.
Can we, I just want to make clear that this demolition doesn't mean that that is the final decision on that space as far as going forward in the future.
No, just demolition.
Any other discussion?
If I can clarify, I know that there's a discussion, I just want to make sure that people do understand, as part of this process, the 3 bids were not accepted, and then what what is before you is demolition of that property, and the other level, which you all will have to decide on at a future date, is what are the next steps. So it will go to, if approved by this board, it'll go to a green space, and then when it's decided as part of our facilities master plan discussion, there will be other conversations with the community about what that space will potentially become. But it's several steps, so I want to make sure people understand that there are several layers in that part, other than leveling the building at this point, that's yet to be determined. That make sense? Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Motion to, for demolition of Kensington building.
Support.
Is that Kim?
No,
Jen?
Ms.
Mishaki? Okay, Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Eatman?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Ms. Melton?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have consent agenda grouping. Is there a motion to the consent agenda grouping?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, that was Kim and,
Mr. Eaton.
okay, Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Eatman?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Ms. Melton?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have board president announcements. I would like to remind the community that on May 20th, we will have a community meeting with regards to gun safety, and that will be at 1 to 3 p.m. at GRPS University on Fuller. And then also to inform the community that our next community meeting will not be until September, and that will be at Union High School. So we will update you, and again, at our upcoming meetings. And then we have our safe storage gun resolution. And
Move to approve?
well, I will read that resolution, and then we will take that to a vote. So just give me a second to pull that up. Let's see if it's in here.
Right here.
You have it right there? Okay, I think I've got it right here. Actually, that's not what I have. All right, let me read that. Wonderful. So the resolution reads, the Grand Rapids Public School Board of Education to declare gun violence a public health crisis and to support safe gun storage in the city of Grand Rapids. Whereas the safety and well-being of our scholars, staff, and community is a top priority for Grand Rapids Public Schools. Whereas the facts support the immediate need for increased gun safety are as follows. In the United States, each year approximately 3 million children and teens are exposed to shootings each year. 15,000 are shot or injured, and 3,500 are shot and killed. Middle and high school aged children are more likely to die from firearm injuries than any other single cause of death. Black youth are 4 times more likely, and Hispanic and indigenous people are more than twice as likely to die from gun violence than their white peers. The rate of death from firearms among children ages 14 to 17 is now 22.5% higher than motor vehicle-related deaths. Nearly 22,000 Americans, including over 950 children and teens, die from firearm suicide every year. According to a report from the U.S. Secret Service, incidents of gun violence on school grounds, 76 of attackers acquire a firearm from the home of a parent or a close relative. A 2019 report by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention found that an average of 1 in 15 boys and 1 in 50 girls report carrying a gun for non-recreational purposes in the past 12 months. And in Michigan, gun violence is the second leading cause of death for children and teens. Whereas the Grand Rapids Public Schools supports the right of responsible gun ownership, where the owners are educated on the risk associated with guns and responsible storage, handle, use, and transportation of a firearm. Now therefore be it resolved that the superintendent will annually disseminate secure gun storage material as identified by the superintendent and approved by the board in a time and manner determined by the superintendent. Be it further resolved that the board president will send this resolution to the mayor and the city commission members. The resolution will be accompanied by a request that the city of Grand Rapids initiate swift action to approve a similar resolution, appropriate funds for community-led violence prevention efforts, support programs that reduce gun violence, promote gun safety education, and utilize policy measures to curb gun violence in the city of Grand Rapids. And this will be signed by the secretary and will be filed with the board.
So I will move to approve.
Any discussion? Okay, so we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
A second.
And that is, who's second?
Ms. Wade.
Okay, Ms. Shockey?
Yes.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Ms. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Eatman?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, yes. Ms. Melton?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Ross?
Yes.
President Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We are at our next area for public comment for non-agenda items only. Our first person to speak is Barb Sagal, if you're still here. And then on deck, we have Oscar Neal.
My name is Barb Slagle, and I'm a little confused on what all you just voted on with the Kensington Elementary. Was it a vote to do the demolition? Was it a vote to put it off until Wednesday? Was it a vote to, I just need clarification because I don't quite understand what you all just voted on, what you all agreed to, what you all just decided. I need a little clarification because it made no sense to me. I think I speak for a lot of people. We just don't understand what you all just voted on. Is it a yes, we're going to demolish the place and then decide what we're gonna do later, make it a green space, and then decide in the future with the input of the residents of that neighborhood? I really am not 100% sure what all you guys just said yes to. I don't know if someone can clarify that a little bit more.
You just said it. You said exactly what we're going to do. Tonight, we agreed to demolish the building, and in the future, we will discuss with the residents what we should do with that property.
Thank you. Because I didn't quite get that out of what everybody was saying. I didn't quite get the high point of what you guys were getting at. And I just wanted clarification. I figure I'm here. If I don't ask a question, the answer is always no, or you never find out. All right? Thank you.
Thank you. Oscar Neal. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Oscar Neal, Grand Rapids Community College faculty, Western Michigan University faculty, Ottawa Hills alum, parent of CFE and city schools. 6 months since the first incident at Grand Rapids Public Schools this year, we get a no backpack rule, which I see as a short-sighted solution that lacks planning and thought of its implications. It increases marginalization of the underserved without effectively reducing any threats. Weapons in schools is a problem that permeates all school districts. A 2019 survey by the Michigan Department of Education reported that 1 in 7 students in the state of Michigan report bringing weapons to school. Unique to Grand Rapids Public Schools and other underserved districts is the marginalization and the criminalization of our children that attend. That is, underserved districts treat our children like delinquents and criminals, and they wonder why there's an achievement gap. Children have said to me, I guess they have easier access to the gun because now it will be in their pockets. This is another policy that disproportionately impacts the underserved. Your email stated that this will be an inconvenience to families, omitting the inconvenience and disadvantages it brings to our children's educational, extracurricular, and athletic experiences. The privileged child parent can bring athletic and extracurricular resources to them after school, while a child without this privilege is left out. The privileged child has the parents who can pick up their laptop and homework, while the one without this privilege may get their homework blown away in the wind or damaged by rain at practice or at a walk home. The privileged child has a computer at home, and the child without the privilege is responsible for carrying the laptop through the rain and the storms without the protection of a backpack. Additional stress put on that child. It is time for our leaders to adopt a multifaceted approach that provides school communities with the tools they need to prevent school-based violence. These actions must take into consideration the potential socioeconomic disparities and ensure that students with lower socioeconomic resources or with disabilities are not negatively affected. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Clee Jackson, and on deck is Shonda Vaughn.
So again, just for the record, I'm Clee Jackson, president of the Greater Grand Rapids branch of the NAACP. Wanted to bring back to the table tonight the issue with Ottawa. I don't think we've heard yet the why. And where is that right now with the decision to transfer or relocate the current administrators there at that building? One of the things I want to lift up as well is that we are, again, fully supportive of keeping our kids safe, but we're also fully supportive of supporting all of our kids with a variety of different issues. You guys have this board, the trustees have heard from community about the situation at Ottawa, loud and clear. And I don't know if we've received any updates, if we've received any answers, where do we stand? One of the things I find really interesting, we had Mr. Maven at the school board meeting, the last school board meeting, who is, I believe, being targeted to go to Ottawa to become that new administrator. And if you listen to Mr. Maven, one of the things, he said a lot, but he didn't say a lot. But one of the things that he said was that I love teaching K through 8. That's what he said. His passion was very, very clear. So what would be the benefit to move a person like that from a school that he loves to a high school that clearly he does not want to go to? The other thing is this. We have a national crisis around public safety. It's becoming a public health, as you said, crisis here, right in this district. Why aren't we focused on that versus moving administrators? Why aren't we focused on that? Why aren't we focused on that? Why haven't we been focused on this, Mr. Johnson, in terms of public safety a long time ago? Why haven't we been focused on that because it's multi-tiered. But we're so concerned about moving administrators, and again, there are so many other big issues. The master plan, public safety, and we're literally talking about moving administrators. And an administrator, by the way, which you have all said, is very skilled and exceptional at her job.
Thank you.
We look at the vacancies, all of the vacancies, 300 and some vacancies. That's horrific. That's horrible.
Thank you, Mr.
Let's focus on that.
Ms. Vaughn. On deck, we have Debbie. Thank you so much.
For President, Mrs. Williams, Superintendent, Dr. Roby, and official board, I'm Shonda Vaughn, and I'm here to piggyback off of President Jackson of the NAACP. I'm advocating on the behalf of students, parents, and community, in a community that cares about the scholars of Ottawa Hills High School. The decision to change the leadership of Ottawa Hills isn't in the best interest of these scholars. The team that's currently there under Principal Davis Johnson at what many would consider a struggling school has transformed the culture of the school tremendously for the better. They're fair, consistent, and caring, which is everything the scholars need and want from their school. That team makes those students feel like family. I'm sharing what I know, not what I've heard. Students feel cared for and safe in that building with them. She creates an environment that exudes care, concern, safety, and expectations. She encourages all of the scholars in that building, whom most would consider lost causes, and helps them believe in themselves and work to complete their secondary education instead of giving up. She and her team makes a positive impact in their lives and have done this despite the barriers Ottawa Hills faces that the board has known for years before she was even placed there. But the word on the street is now they plan to put in supports afterwards. That was what was told to me, what I heard the last time I was at the meeting, that they're gonna be putting additional supports in next year. The scholars of Ottawa Hills come back there daily because of the relationship that has been established by that administration, and the students that attend the alternative schools that feed into Ottawa want to be at Ottawa. Now, I can speak to the fact that when she was the leader of the alternative schools, the kids would rather be at the alternative schools than at Ottawa. I'm telling you what I know, not what I've heard. They know that she isn't accepting or taking any mess, and they also know she cares for them. They respect her because they make them feel like family. It just doesn't make sense, so I'm wondering the why as well. I implore you to reassess the impact that this is going to have on the students of Ottawa. The decision to change the current leadership doesn't match the GRPS vision of meeting the different needs of the students. Do you really think a different team will put in the effort the current team has and is to support the success of those students in front and behind the scenes? And again, although there have been changes before, because I hear that, you know, we do changes all the time, how many times have those changes been challenged? There's a reason for that. And then how many other high schools are lacking the number of educators in the building like Ottawa? Oh, only those on the southeast side, those schools that are the pipeline to Ottawa. How many how many educators do you think will still be able to stabilize those negative behaviors in the building? Let that marinate. People are speaking up for a reason. Thank you.
We have Leslie Neal on deck.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Katie DeWard. I'm here to advocate for students with no voice, non-English speaking parents, and parents with no transportation to get here today. They're actually waiting for their kids to get off a bus right now that didn't arrive until 5 or 5:30 at Congress Elementary. I'm a proud teacher at a nearby district. I used to be a GRPS teacher. Ms. Mountain interviewed me. I am no longer at the district. I'm a proud teacher at a nearby district, like I said, and a proud parent of Congress Elementary kindergartner. I'm pleased with the education she's received. They're wonderful teachers. that she has and the tight-knit community we have had the pleasure to be a part of. Unfortunately, we have a problem with busing that affects 20 to 25 students every single day in our community. The busing adversely affects low-income and minority students. The buses are arriving between 5 and 5:30, 4 out of the 5 days a week, sometimes 5 days a week. So these kids are sitting in line, standing in line for 2 hours outside. They usually are kicked out of the building because there's nowhere else in the building for them to be. They can't be in the gym because there's after-school programs going on. So a teacher or a principal has to wait with them for 2 hours every single day. They arrive at their bus stop. 6-year-olds arrive at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, sleeping on the back of the bus. Their kids have to carry them off the bus, and this has been happening since August. I apologize that I haven't been here sooner to report this. I know behind the scenes at Congress they've been trying to solve this problem all year, and we're at the point where Dean is blaming GRPS and GRPS is blaming Dean. So now we're here speaking to you. That's all I have to say. We have a letter as well.
We don't, you can't pass time?
Did I already?
You can't pass your time to someone else.
Okay.
Thank you.
I could read the letter.
Sure.
Okay. So this was a letter written by the community recently. From the beginning of 2022 and the school year, Congress Elementary has been experiencing late buses. We already talked about this, so I'll move on to the bottom line. Members of our most vulnerable populations, as young as kindergarten, are being forced to wait for hours after school with no organized, reliable system to accommodate them. First and foremost, this is an equity issue. Keeping our most vulnerable children in limbo and often away from their families for nearly 12 hours of a day does not contribute to great learning outcomes. That's been proven. Great behavior outcomes, that's been proven daily. Our great mental health outcomes for all the families. Because no one can predict a plan for late buses, there's no way to create a reliable system to support these teachers and staff and students in the area. This places even more stress on our staff, teachers, and paraprofessionals who are already stressed out, who must take time away from teaching prep and other important duties to care for children until the bus arrives. Because no one can predict late buses, there's no way to create a reliable system to support teachers, students, and staff with no voice, quite frankly. I hope that you guys can work on a solution to solve this problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Leslie Neal, and on deck is Jim Malone. Actually, if you just want to put it on the front desk there, that's fine. We'll make sure that thank you.
Hello, my name is Leslie Neal, and I am the proud parent of 2 children with GRPS. I first want to thank you for all of the wonderful things that you are doing well as a district. But the reason that I stand before you is my concern regarding the lack of strategic planning for the safety of our children. I say strategic because the communication that has been received over the last week speaks to action and policy created out of what has been presented as a sudden need or crisis. Where was the planning sessions when Oxford occurred, just a couple hours away? Where was the securities planning when MSU dealt with active shooters just an hour away? Administration is in place to look down the road and provide a strategic plan for our district. Where was the planning when the first gun was found, the second, the third? The clumsy rollout of the no backpack policy made it clear that there was not a productive planning process occurring within administration, and that is both disturbing and disappointing. While I appreciate the attempt of communication from Dr. Roby over the weekend, I found it concerning that future plans do not include securing funding, grants or otherwise, to invest in additional social workers or partnering with existing local or youth programs as a method to teach our students how to deal with anger management, stress, and other heavy emotions. Lastly, I ask, how will the district support staff as they attempt to effectively implement this new policy, as it is known that the district has historically lacked a consistent enforcement of past policies, for example, the uniform policy, and now the dress code policy. Because of the known systemic issues within the district, it is alarming that another policy is being created without a structure to support it and implement it effectively. So I ask you to do better as leaders. I ask you to do better for our children. I ask you to do better because they deserve better. Thank you.
Thank Jan Winnington is on deck.
¿Hay alguien que me pueda traducir? ¿Alguien que me pueda traducir? Si no, yo lo tengo en inglés, lo puedo decir en inglés, pero quiero el tiempo. ¿El tiempo, el doble tiempo? Doble tiempo. Yo hablo en español. Ok, mi nombre es Gema y yo soy de Movimiento Cosecha y también soy la mamá de una niña que viene a esta escuela.
Her name is Hema, and she's the mom of a student that goes to Southwest Middle High. I'm part of the Movimiento Cosecha. The Cosecha movement. Sorry.
Antecedentes sobre la cultura de la violencia en Estados Unidos.
Background about the violence culture in the U.S.
Vivimos en una sociedad donde la violencia se glorifica en las películas, en las calles y en nuestros hogares con videojuegos violentos.
We live in a society where the violence is glorified in the movies, in the streets, and in our homes with violent video games.
En los Estados Unidos nos hacen creer que la persona que tiene las armas más grandes son los héroes más valientes.
In the U.S., we are led to believe that the people with the biggest guns are the heroes.
La mayoría de las veces, la gente buena, entre comillas, es interpretada por la policía y el ejército, pero en realidad son la representación de un sistema que nos oprime y nos controla.
Most often than not, the good people, in parentheses, are played by the police and the military, but in all, actually, they are the representation of a system that oppresses and controls us, people of color.
A nosotros, a las personas de color. Las mayores beneficiarios de esta cultura que exalta la violencia en la industria de las armas y manipulan las leyes a su favor.
The biggest beneficiaries of this violent culture is the gun industry, and they manipulate the law in their favor.
La provisión de las mochilas. Los miembros de Movimiento Cosecha GR, que son padres de familia de este distrito de Grand Rapids Public Schools, creen que la provisión de las mochilas es una medida ineficaz y que no llega a ser una solución al problema que los niños están llevando armas a la escuela.
GRPS backpack ban. Members of Movimiento Cosecha GR that are GRPS parents believe that the ban of the backpacks is an inefficient measure that fell short of being a solution to the issues of kids bringing guns to school.
Según los programas de OSHA, para corregir los peligros, la mejor manera es eliminar el peligro y la más menor eficaz es modificar los procedimientos implementados controlados por la administración.
By the OSHA programs to correct hazards, the best way is to eliminate the hazard, and the least effective is to modify procedures by implementing administrative controls.
La prohibición de la mochila es una tirita que puede caerse en cualquier momento. Un joven que ha decidido en su mente que quiere llevar un arma a la escuela, encontrará la manera de hacerlo con o sin mochila.
The backpack ban is a band-aid that can fall off at any time. A young person that had decided in their mind that bringing a gun to school is what they want to do, they will find a way to do it with or without a backpack.
Otros medios de control, como los detectores de metales y el registro físico, también son medidas de control que reflejan más la cultura de violencia y el miedo.
Other means of control, like metal detectors and physical searches, are also measures of control that reflect more of the culture of violence and fear.
No queremos que nuestras escuelas parezcan una prisión. Con esta mente exigimos a las autoridades de la ciudad de Grand Rapids y a la mesa directiva de Grand Rapids Public School lo siguiente.
We don't want our schools to resemble prisons. With this in mind, we demand to the City of GR authorities and the GRPS School Board the following.
Número 1, detener la prohibición de las mochilas.
Number 1, stop the backpack ban.
Número 2, implementar clases obligatorias del K al 12 que enseñan a nuestros hijos la resolución no violenta de conflictos y métodos holísticos de curación con el objetivo de construir la cultura de no violencia.
Implement mandatory classes K through 12 that teach our kids nonviolent conflict resolution, hostility killing methods aiming to destruction, the culture of violence in our society by the experts, but not adding to the load of the overworked and underpaid teachers.
Acceso a la salud mental para todos los estudiantes de Grand Rapids Public School para atender las necesidades de nuestra comunidad, de nuestras mentes jóvenes.
Access to mental health for all GRPS students to attend the needs of our young minds.
Número 4, actividades extraescolares accesibles para que todos los alumnos ocupen su tiempo en forma constructiva, como deportes, música, teatro, artes plásticas y agricultura.
Number 4, accessible extracurricular activities for all students to occupy their time in constructive way like sports, music, theater, plastic arts, agriculture, etc.
Nuestras demandas para la ciudad de Grand Rapids y Grand Rapids Public Schools. Programas de recompra de armas para reducir la cantidad total de armas en circulación, recuperar más armas de fuego poseídas ilegalmente y retirar armas de situaciones en que las personas pueden hacer daño a sí mismas o hacia otros.
Our demand to City of GRPS and other competent organizations, gun buyback programs to reduce the overall number of guns in circulation, recover illegally possessed firearms, and remove guns from situations where people may harm themselves or others.
Reinvertir los recursos de la ciudad de Grand Rapids en propuestas como la presupuesto de Grand Rapids Police Department y la implementación de programas hacia Grand Rapids Public Schools mencionados en las demandas 2, 3 y 4.
Diversity of GR resources from GRPD budget to the implement of for GRPS programs mentioned in the above demands 2, 3, and 4.
Y lo último, eventos gratuitos orientados a las familias y vecindarios que celebran y destacan los diferentes grupos sociales y culturales que viven en nuestra ciudad para aprender unos de otros y crear confianza en comprensión.
Finally, free neighborhood and family-oriented events that celebrate and highlight the different social cultural groups that live in our city to learn about each other and grow in trust and understanding.
Gracias, te los dejo.
Station Bennett and Sarah Sachs-Smith, you're on deck.
My name is, can you hear me? My name is Sarah Sachs-Smith. I'm a mom to 3 boys and proudly choose GRPS. I fully support and encourage the immediate move of action to ensure our GRPS community receives safe, effective, and appropriate education on safe gun storage methods. Education and prevention needs to be implemented immediately. I stood before you at the Franklin campus and spoke to you on February 6th regarding transportation issues. Here I am again. These issues have yet to be resolved. It's the end of the year, and this cannot be what we accept as the norm for a fall school year. I'm begging you, take action, please. I have attended board meetings. I've attended meetings at other local organizations. We have many common themes with issues around busing. We are tired. I am here today because GRPS prides himself on providing quality education and services to scholars that represent more than 70 countries. Allow me to introduce our Jamaican connection. My son is in 3rd grade. My son and a kid named Matthew became great friends. Thankfully, I met his mom, Stacy. This is very emotional for me. I stood up a lot. An amazing, kind, hard-working woman who brought her son from Jamaica to build a better life. They joined our GRPS community fall of 22. She chose GRPS, chose. I am privileged to know them. She has had to overcome so many barriers that many in this room would have not a clue where to start. She is the definition of grit. You have heard from many over the past months and years regarding issues with transportation. This is nothing new.
Please listen to a mother who has had to fight hard for consistency and reliability. Her family's well-being is dependent upon reliable transportation. I can only say so much as a parent. I can only say so much as an advocate, and I am very, very, very proud of her for coming today to speak, because I can tell you the conversations I have had since August until today at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:50 in the morning, to ensure a son get to school on time. Conversations from her to Dean, me to Dean, constant issues with communication. Something has got to be done. I don't think we are hearing enough from families who are directly being impacted by it and have no options. I said before, I am privileged. I acknowledge that. I understand how to get my kids to and from school. I know the resources. There are too many that they don't have any, and it's being dropped on these kids. Please do something.
Anna Putman is on deck. Yes, ma'am. No, you're up. Okay. Ms. Putman is on deck.
Good evening. My name is Stacey Barnett. My son attends CA Frost. My family has experienced many issues with Dean. I am asking that the board review the busing that GRPS provides. I don't drive. My family, my job, and my son Matthew, his mental health has been affected. Why? Dean Transportation knows his name by now, because every morning when they don't come on time and I call, once I say his name, they know who it is. And I'm so sad when my son says, "Mom, why are we being treated this way? Is it because we are new here?" And it hurts. We stand at the bus stop like 30 minutes to 45 minutes apart from his pickup time with no correspondence from Dean Transportation. Sometimes I call, I'm being yelled at. "Ma'am, the bus came." No, the bus didn't. I'm out there for hours. As I said, I don't drive. We stand in the cold with my son. We are not used to it. As I've said, we are new here. We rely on the bus. All I need is respect from Dean, good communication, and just for my son not to say he wants to go back home. Thank you.
Aaron Howard is on deck.
Good evening. My name is Anna Aliman Putman, and I am a parent in GRPS. I'm also a former employee, and I want to say that I love GRPS to my inner being. I will always support GRPS, but we need to do better. I want to read a piece of the strategic plan under the theme, Create a Culture of Trust, Collaboration, and Stewardship. This is from the strategic plan. As stewards of public resources, we must build trust. And I want to repeat that, build trust by engaging our community as partners and customers. And I haven't seen that happen. The band, My Child Goes to City, you had to do something, you did something. My problem with that was the communication. It came last minute to parents, and then the poor principals and the teachers, they were left to deal with the fallout of a plan that was not thought out. So at different schools, different things happened. At City, the backpacks were in garbage cans. My daughter sent me a picture, heart broke. The one consolation I had when I asked Charlie, who did this? Who took their backpacks? She said it was people they knew. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you so much for watching out for our kids. At Riverside Middle School, the assistant principal wasn't sure what to do, so he just said, "You know what? Put your backpacks in your locker, take the things out of your backpacks that you're gonna need, leave them there, we'll figure out later." We need to support our principals, and we need to support our teachers, because they end up paying the price for plans that are not well thought out. And also, I hear a lot about policy. To my understanding, policy is created by the board. And that, to the best of my knowledge, this ban was not passed by the board, nor was it discussed at the board before it was just thrown out to parents. So if we're going to talk about policy, let's do it right. And then two more things I want to talk about. Exit interview. 1 minute, oh man. Exit interview. My neighbor was a teacher in Grand Rapids Public up until December. She had to quit for her own safety and for that of the safety of her students. She was assaulted and nothing was done. She wanted to do the exit interview. Mickey quit at the last minute. There was no one to do the interview for her. Nobody ever followed up with her, and she had some really important things to share with you all. And then the very last thing I just want to say is, just do better. Do better for our principals, do better for our teachers, do better for the community that wants to believe in you, but most importantly, do better for our students, for God's sakes.
Aaron Howard.
I think she left. Kim?
Aaron Howard.
I think she left.
Alrighty. And then next we have superintendent comments.
Just very quickly, President Williams mentioned the May 20th Safety Forum. That's from 1 to 3. There also will be an additional date. And we're asking people just to hold it tentatively because we want to do something based around that May 20th date later in the summer. And we're thinking June 28th, and that will be from 5:30 to 7:30 tentatively. More details will follow after our forum this coming Saturday. The purpose, again, is to continue dialogue, get ideas and other things as we roll into the upcoming school year. Again, we understand that the backpack ban has caused ripple effects, and so you look at intent and impact. The intent is to keep everybody safe. The impact that it has caused an inconvenience, and we certainly acknowledge that. We also acknowledge that there's other things and other layers related to our work around safety that does become a community collaborative effort. It is not just our district or our staff, it is everyone in our community to make sure that our young people are safe. And so May 20th, Saturday, 1 to 3 at GRPS University, tentatively hold June 28th, 5:30 to 7:30. More information will be available, but we'll also communicate that once we have a greater idea on the needs. We wanted to make sure that we offered multiple opportunities for people to have this discussion.
Thank you. Excuse me. Board member comments, and we will start with Ms. Muhammad.
No comments.
Alrighty. Ms. Milton.
I guess I'm feeling it to be very important just to speak that there is a lot going on in our community, and I feel as though I've been saying this for several months now. We hear you, and there is a lot to be done, and I thank you for your vote of support. So many of you start with your acknowledgement of the hard work being done around the district, and I echo that. There is some great work being done around the district, and we hear you and want to be the district that you need. Thank you.
Mr. Eatman?
Yes, I want to acknowledge the young scholar that got the
Gates Millennium.
Millennium Award. I know one personal friend from the district who actually received that, and she is now a doctor and got that thing. So this is a very, very important scholarship and important. So congratulations again. Also want to recognize and thank our newly state rep, Christian Grant, Representative Grant that just passed, also working with one of the senators for stronger safety for our scholars. And so want to acknowledge you and your effort on the Hill here to make sure that our district is remain safe and our students are having more laws to help protect them and the safety of this community. So thank you so much for being here tonight and also working on passing that. Secondly, we hear you all, and I echo what Trustee Melton has stated here. And also just re-encourage that we are willing to do the work, not rushing through the process or rushing through our work sessions, but actually making sure that we're in the work sessions doing the work that you have bestowed upon us to do. And so continue to work with us, and thank you for being here tonight.
Ms. Lewis-Downs?
Yes, I know that the backpack policy was not very popular. I have 2 grandchildren at museum school, and I got a text during the day that said, "Did you vote for this?" And I said, "No, I didn't, but I totally support it." We had to do something. And when they got in the car after I picked them up and I explained to them why this was happening and the fact that they only have like 3.5 more weeks of school, they said, "All right, we get it, but still don't like it." And I think that's what we have to think about right now, that this is just a stopgap measure. This is not something that we think is going to solve the problem of guns in schools, but I do have a great deal of trust and confidence in the people who are in charge of things that affect our safety. I have a lot of respect and support for Dr. Roby and the decisions she makes, and I want to assure you that this board is trying very hard to meet the demands that you put on us. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wade.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments and for coming out and supporting the board and also our scholars and our teachers. I do want to express my support for Dr. Roby and her staff in doing something now. And nothing is perfect. I too have a scholar who's carrying all her things and her cleats and her baseball, softball mitt, but she's safe because of your brave actions. So thank you for that. And I'm proud today that we passed a resolution to just acknowledge that we too agree that and support the work of our community to be smarter, to be safer for our children, to safely store their firearms. I'm proud today that we did that. And I'm also proud that my scholar got up and helped translate for the lady. She's actually really dope for that. And she's a Southwest Middle High student, so I was pretty proud of that too.
Ms. Davis?
Yeah, I just want to bring light to the Multicultural Festival that was in Clemente Park last week. I attended with my children who go to Southwest Elementary, and just a wonderful event, wonderful cultural food and music and dancing, and our students did projects from all different countries, and some of them presented on stage in Spanish, lots of carnival games, and just the community coming together. And I just remember having a feeling of, it was same time period that the gun was discovered, and just a feeling of this is what it's about. It's about community. And thank you to all of you who show up and have those tough conversations with each other and with our kids. I never thought I would have to talk to my 5-year-old about what to do if she sees a firearm. But it's because of those conversations that we've had kids do the right thing and report to an adult. So thank you for being a part of the community, for creating safe spaces for these conversations, and for advocating for our kids.
I know she's calling.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Yeah, thank you. As an author of the resolution that we had brought to the table today on safe gun storage, I'm glad we're finally putting our support publicly out to share safe gun storage practices throughout the city of Grand Rapids. And I just want to say that while this is a good first step, it is just that, it's a first step. We have a lot more work to do to keep our kids safe, to keep our classrooms safe. And while I know that we don't hold as much power as the city commission or the state legislature, we have an obligation to do everything we can to protect our children, our staff, and our community from gun violence. At our last board work session, it wasn't recorded, unfortunately, but I wanted to make note that Mr. Larry Johnson and Mr. Leon Hendricks committed to sending safe gun storage information out before our students are released for the summer. And I just wanted to take this moment to express my full support for the Be Smart campaign toolkit. I'd also like to express my support moving forward. The GRPS partners with neighborhood organizations across the city to bring safe gun storage presentations to every single one of our schools. I stopped by the West Grand Neighborhood Association, and they have gun locks for free for any resident that stops by. They have literature as well if Be Smart is not your cup of tea. And there's so many resources out there, but there are resources out there. So go ahead and stop by your neighborhood organizations, and they have this information and these locks available. And I understand that it's not just the responsibility of GRPS, but we do share in this responsibility. We can't operate in a silo if we wish to bring true safety and security to our classrooms. And so I just want to end by saying that we have to work alongside our community partners to get this work done. Thank you, everyone.
Ms. Shockey?
Well, I want to start by echoing what our superintendent said and lift up the young scholars who saw something and said something. They really are, I think, the heroes in these really unfortunate stories, and it takes bravery and courage, I think, to wonder if you saw something and tell an adult. And so thank you to those young scholars. I too stand in support of this temporary disruption. I have kids in this district. I have a junior and I have a sixth grader. And my sixth grader rides the bus and has a transfer station, and this has not been convenient at all for our family, and it's been confusing for my kids too. I realize that this is in no way the absolute solution to this, this community problem, but I do support that we interrupted the only part of the pattern that we could interrupt, which was concealing weapons in backpacks. I also have been here for a while, and I have watched our district and this board adapt when there are unintended consequences. And so I realize that this disruption has absolutely had consequences we couldn't have imagined. And so I trust that we will adapt. What I appreciate is this has really truly started a district-wide conversation around what are we gonna do about safety in our schools. And so thank you to those of you who don't agree with us for coming out today, because these are now the dinner table conversations that we're all having, and I'm grateful for that, because that truly will allow us to get better. So thank you.
Mr. Ross.
I don't really think I can really add much. I guess sort of piggybacking off the dinner table conversation, I guess I would implore everyone here and to utilize your own personal circles to influence those who you do know who own guns, and even if they don't, just recognize that this is definitely an effort that everyone needs to, again, take additional action to keep everyone safe. And a big part of that, I guess, to Mr. Rodriguez's comments, utilize your neighborhood association, maybe pick up a handful of those gun locks, pass them out to people even unsolicited. Again, it's going to take a lot of grassroots efforts. It's going to take some national efforts to do something to mitigate the risk that comes with gun ownership. And I guess just hope that we all recognize this is I guess a joint issue, and it's going to take a whole lot of hands and a whole lot of advocacy on multiple levels to really make some change and try to hopefully produce safer, not just safer schools, but safer society.
And then I will end with comments for with regards to thanking everyone for coming out. We appreciate your time this evening, for coming to share with us. For those who didn't share, for being here. I do want to add a quick note of correction. I'd like to thank Mr. Rodriguez and other board members who worked on our resolution, that it was a collaborative work between the board and the district to get that resolved, and it is a collective work that we do here. We are a group that, while we may not always get it right, we are trying to put our best efforts forward. We are listening to you. We are trying to make decisions not in haste, but also try to make informed decisions. And we wish we could get it right every time, but we thank you for your patience. We thank you for your support, and we ask that you continue to come out and work with us. It is, this is community work. The issues around gun violence is community work. The issues around providing the best services to our students and scholars and our families, again, is community work. And so we thank you, we are listening, and we appreciate your time. This meeting is adjourned.